Good morning, everybody. This is Miss T. I haven't been on here for a minute, but I wanted to come on here and discuss some things that I've been reading. Right now, I'm reading in the Book of Jubilees and getting some very good information. At first I thought, I really don't need to know everything that happened or what is in the Bible. Basically, all I need to know is how God wants me to treat other people and what it takes for me to get to heaven. But when you're finding out information, it does help to explain some things that you just don't understand, and people will take things that they don't understand and say that they're false because of what you can't understand in your head, you don't believe. So I'm going to try to discuss some of the things that I have learned reading the Book of Jubilees. And so if you're like me, when you read the Bible and it says in the beginning, God created, in my mind, all that happened, everything happened in that week. So, he created the sky, the waters, the fish, the birds, everything. And then he created man, which was Adam, and then he created a woman, which was Eve, from Adam's rib, and then he left them in the garden, and then Eve got away from Adam, or however it worked, and she was tricked by the serpent, and she picked of the fruit of the tree, and she gave her husband some, and she ate some, and then their eyes were opened, and they knew that some of the things, they felt ashamed. They knew they were naked, and they knew other things. Now, in my mind, that all happened on the day that it said it happened. So he created them, and then they got kicked out of the Garden of Eden, which is not true. So I believe, so when Adam was made, he was in the Garden of Eden by himself for, I believe, 7 days. He was in there, he was naming animals and plants and trees, and just God gave him the will to just name everything, and he was naming those things, and just going through it. But when he was naming those things, the animals always had a partner. So lion, lioness, birds, whatever. And so it wasn't, it felt like he was all alone because all these animals were paired up together and he didn't have a helpmeet. So God created him a helpmeet. But Eve was created, but she did not get to enter the garden until 7 weeks after Adam. So what it's basically saying, depending upon what child that the mother gives birth to, if it's a man or male child, she has to be away from all things that are sacred. She can't go into the temple or praise or whatever for 7 days. And if it's a female child, that would be double, so that would be 14 days. God created everything to go in order. Everything is in order. The stars are in the sky exactly the way He wanted them to be. The moon is aligned exactly where it's supposed to be. The sun, everything above the earth was put into place to be in perfect form, because that's how God runs the world, runs us. Everything has to be in order, because when it's not in order, it's chaos. So a world can't, as we know, cannot run in chaos. So He had the days together. He had the months together. He had the years together. The months were 13 months, and it evened out to make the days even out what how many months they are. That was His plan. Now, no one should ever be able to take what God has given, what God has created, and change it. But God already knew that they were going to do just that. So, when He called Moses, we already know Enoch went to heaven. He got to see all the things that were in heaven and what was going on and the different things that were happening, and he got to write down everything that he was told, everything that he was seeing, everything he's seen, and he was to bring it back to the earth and share it with the people. So God was not trying to hide anything. He wanted everyone to know this is what's going to happen. It's almost like when He told Peter that you're going to deny me 3 times, and Peter was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I refuse. I love you, God, and I follow you, Jesus, and I follow you wherever you go. But that's exactly what happened. He denied Him. So when He said for Enoch to bring all that information back to the people, He wanted people to read it and understand this is what's going to happen. Now, some people could have read it and said, I don't want to go against God, or I don't want to be a part of, what He's saying or what He's saying is going to happen. And so I don't think He said everyone is going to turn and do something different, but He just gave what's going to happen. And so let me go back. So also when they said that Adam and Eve had Cain and Abel, they didn't mention that they also had a daughter. And after Cain did what he did, he was cursed. So God didn't, he didn't drop dead right then, or his sin wasn't, he didn't pay for his sin immediately, but he was a cursed man and a vagabond. So he really wasn't made to have anything, anything that he possibly said that was of any importance, or anything that he possibly did to be written down, because he was the first man to commit murder. And so what was happening at the time, since there was only Adam and Eve and they were procreating, to get the lineage going, their children had to marry one another. So their sons married their daughters, and they had children, and then those children married, and that's how you got down to some of the lineage. Now, if the further you go out, there's a child, my uncle's daughter, and it spreads out. But yes, it did start with they being married to their siblings. And so people may think what they, what it means or what they think it means, but God had control of everything. And so what God was doing was preparing the world. I mean, if you only had a few people that were there to procreate, then obviously you had to use the people that were available. So before the great flood, and God looked down on what he had created, and he felt he was ashamed, and more or less is because God created the angels, the watchers. What their job was to do was to watch over and protect the people on earth, the women and the men. We were, back then they were closer in contact than we are. We might think I know you can talk to them and get an understanding, but back then you can actually have a conversation with them. You could probably actually see them and get a direct conversation with them and get an understanding. So that's what was happening. Now, what had happened was God's angels, and these are God's sons. So in his mind, he brought these men, or these angels, into the lives of men and women. So they were supposed to be protectors and teachers and all kinds of things. Well, there were the watchers who, because obviously God gave angels free will, or Satan wouldn't have been able to take a third or fourth of his angels with him. If they didn't have free will, they would just go around obeying everything that he said. But they did have free will. And so when you have someone who wants to take over or wants to deceive people, he's going to get into their minds and tell them things that he wants them to hear, and let them know that God created you just like himself. He doesn't want you to know that you're greater, you're just as great as he. And so he tells you little things, and these people, once you get in people's heads and then they start to think, you can turn some people. Some people will be satisfied just to know that they have a God who loves and watches over and protects them, and that's all they need. But there's other people or other entity or other angels who want to be better, and rule the world. People have power, rules everything. If they can get the high ranking and people bow down to them, they have the power. So that was the deceitful part. So what Satan had to do was convince the world that God was not the only entity that had power, that he could be overthrown if everyone came together. Fortunately, there was more people who believed in God. There was more people who witnessed his son on earth, healing the sick, bringing the dead back to life, feeding the poor, walking around with the misfits, hanging with the undesirables. He didn't turn anyone away. He didn't care if you were a thief or a prostitute or a drunk or whatever you may have been. He didn't turn you away. It seems like Jesus spent more time with the what's the word, with the, not wanted people. You know how you don't want to go down that street because that's where all the druggies hang out, or you don't want to go down that street because that's where all the prostitutes or gangbangers, they give you these scenarios. You don't want to go you don't want to go here, you don't want to go there, because that's where the trouble is. Well, if you're not going to the trouble, who are you healing? Who is being healed? Who is being taught? Who is being comforted? Who is being told that they are somebody, even though people have kicked them for years and told them they were nothing? Who is going to give them hope? So are we supposed to walk past these people as we go find a little bit more people who have a little bit more understanding, or who have a little bit more class, or who have a little bit more mindset? Because they say if you're a little bit off, or if you have some mental issues going on, that you can't understand, and you can't be taught anything either. So like I said, we have the people to thank, and this is not a race, this is nothing against race against race, but we know that as a people, we had no choice in making any decisions in how the world was ran. We had no input in taking things out of the Bible. We didn't have any input in adding or anything. This was not any doing of people of color, because we had no power. We had no, we weren't considered, for a while we weren't even considered human beings. So we made no laws. We didn't make anything that changed anything. So we weren't able to change the Sabbath from the first day of the week, from Sunday, from Sabbath to Sunday. We didn't have that option to do that. It was given to us by the Catholic Church, and I still don't know to this day why they were so put out front to change things that we have learned in our studies with God. And the people went along with what was said. Back then it was different. We've already seen how we were treated, or how people who went against the government, or whoever went and did their own thing, or who secretly worshiped God, or who we seen how they were treated. So some people rather just, instead of being tortured and stepped on. They rather just pretend that they're going to go along with what is being said, but secretly worship their God in the quiet and the still of the night with their other people. I'm sure God would forgive you for that, because not everybody is willing to face consequences of, they're unaliving Christians who stand up for Jesus and Christ, who tell their story, who go out and spread His word, who go and tell the people that there is a time that's going to come where He's going to come back and rescue all the people who believe in Him and trust in Him. And people don't want that being told. They have messed up they know that what they did was wrong. That's why they did it, And so now that your secret has been told, people are now going out and finding the information and reading what the real truth is. And that's why I understand when I couldn't understand why it would say that Jesus was not going to return until everyone heard the true word. And I was like thinking, well, this, as old as this world is, I believe that everyone would have heard the name of Jesus and the stories and everything, but I never thought, because I didn't know, that we weren't learning the true works of God and Jesus, because they were being hidden from us. They were being taken away from the Bible. They were being distorted. That people were changing the narrative and changing the words to make people think that God, the loving God who says, "For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son," that He was not talking to people of color. He was only talking to Caucasians. I'm put it out there because there's no way to sugarcoat it. That's what was put out there. So we were pushed aside as to justify the way that we were treated. You had to lower our value. You had to lower our what we were to make it make sense. So they put out the agenda that we didn't have souls, that we were savages over in a country that were just killing, unaliving one another and partaking of their flesh and just being just running amok, just being running the devil's plays. This is what you have to do to try to get people to come on your side. You have to paint a picture of what these people are to make people understand, well, yeah, they're not like us, and God didn't intend for them to live like us. They were only here to cater, serve, take care of all the chores or all the things that they weren't willing or didn't want to take care of. What mother, you have a baby, it was just ridiculous how you can come. I think they were really going by ear, going by, we'll just make up something when it comes to when we need the convenience. You know, get some kind of convenience. Because now they're telling the white mothers that when you have children, that you don't have to connect a bond with them, because you have a nurse, a black nurse, who is going to take care of your child, make sure that they are being fed and not disturbing you, so they stay up and take care of that baby for you. So you have no connection with this child that you're having. You come in when it's time to present your child as, in front of company, playing the piano or violin or having their studies or learning French and all those kinds of things. That was not, you didn't have a basis of a family structure. You just had help in getting your child, as royalty, or to behave as royalty. And if anything went wrong, it wasn't your fault, because the mother, the wet nurse, the person who was in charge of your child should have taken care of her better, should have known better. And so just any punishment, just anything had to be blamed on us. So I'm going back to Moses, because Enoch also went to heaven, and he was able to see what heaven was like. He was able to tell you how many, floors or tiers or whatever heaven had, what and who kept what in order, and who made the stars go, or who made the earth turn at a certain time, so that it all works in order. Now, what I don't, I'm not going to say what I don't read in the Bible, I don't believe. I still believe that there's things that God, it wasn't important. I mean, it was important for the structure of the world, but he didn't want to boggle. We didn't have to be boggled down with the how we don't have to worry about how we're just free, how we're sitting here in perfect orbit, and we're not falling, or how the world can turn and be exactly the way it's supposed to be at a certain time, and that people underneath are not we don't have to worry about that. That would be something that we couldn't focus on. His focus is for us to learn about God, the love of God, and to obey him and do his will, so that you can make it to heaven. So some of those things are for God to understand, and not meant for us to wonder about. We don't need to wonder about it, because he's got it all in control. And so when people start putting things in our head, like there's other gods, and out there in the galaxy there's other things that have control over our lives. We go off of zodiac signs, that basically people believe runs who we are. So if I don't know anything about zodiac signs and what a zodiac sign means, and who I don't know anything about that. I've never dealt with zodiac signs. But if you read the book of Jubilees, God handed, the angels repeated, Moses wrote down everything that they said would happen, what they was going to make you believe, and why the world is going to be so confusing and so evil and so unconcerned and so dog eat dog and step on whomever, and kids aren't excluded, and neither are old people, animals, nothing are excluded. They have their own scenario. They have their own way of believing how this world is going to be and how it's going to end. And when you read the Bible, you take all the books that were taken out of the Bible and read them together, they will come together. The Bible will say that men will turn against men, sons will turn against their fathers, when people will sell their children to demons, that there will be rituals, and people are so adamant, or they're so concerned about having power and money that they do anything for it. And that is evident. We know that they will unalive their parents for it. Their best friend, they will set up their best friend to rob them to get the money. They will sell their child into some kind of slavery to get money. They will sell themselves. They will, anything under the sun, they will do. Without any remorse, without any conscience, without any, any kind of heart. I don't understand. I don't see how a mother who carried their child and took care of them and supposed to love them, turn around and sell them to a predator that that something's going to happen to them, or him, and you let them go, not caring what might be going on in her life, short life. We're in the most disturbing times ever. I know people probably lived through World War, whatever, and I'm sure whatever you've been through, you thought this was the most depressing times and things were being, but we are in the last days. We are in the confusing days. We are in you don't have time to understand it. You don't have time to dissect and see how we can change, how we can come together at the round table and make a change, because that round table has been there for years. We have over the years, we have chosen that if you're not financially stable, if you're not, if you don't have power, if you don't People don't fear you, that you're nobody. Um, and so that's what the main agenda is. People want to have power, money, fame, women. Those are the, if you ask men, those are the things that mean the most to them. And I'm not saying all men. I'm saying the men who are playing this game, who are playing this I don't want to, I don't play in this charade. I know a lot of people pretend like, what bothers me is slave people, back in the slave days, even though they were beaten and tortured and unalived and violated and children were unalived and people were sold away from their families never to see them again, they still woke up every morning and sang about God and God delivering them from bondage, even though they were told that God doesn't listen to their prayers because they're not even human, they're animals. But they knew better. They brought their traditions back with them because they knew the God who served in the land that they lived. And so they didn't give up on that God. During the beatings, during whatever, they were still praising God and asking Him to deliver them from bondage. And they never stopped. People who had to fight during civil rights days, they sang of God's love and mercy, and that He would deliver them from bondage and give them freedom and to walk them through the life that they deserved. It's awful funny to me now that you have so-called a little freedom and you can do a little extra, that now God doesn't exist, or I'm an atheist and why does God do this and allows these things to happen. You mean to tell me that the people who have been tortured, because you haven't been through torture. We did not come over from wherever. We were not bound, we were not beaten, we were not starved, we were not any of those things. Most of us did not march, were not met on a dark road in a car with a group of white people surrounding us with no good intentions, and you didn't know if you were going to make it alive. We weren't in any of that. But now that basically you really can't harm a so-called minority without repercussions. Now we have, I don't believe that there's a God, because if there was a God, none of this would be happening. Or I don't believe there's a God, or I believe that they're playing checkers with our life. Him and the devil are going back and forth and playing with our lives, or this was all, just an amusement for them to be just. And if you really believe that, then you're really lost, because that's not what it's about. If you don't believe in God, if you truly don't believe or don't know or don't feel there's a God, you need to search and find him first. You need to go look and see. You can't just sit there and because time after time things are happening and you're falling deeper and deeper and you don't think there's a God, because when are you going to have your day? He didn't say I'm just giving out prizes for people who don't believe, because then I can, reel you in and give you a little, dangle a carrot in front of you and make you believe. This is where your faith comes in. This is where a little mustard seed comes in. You'll never really know how deep your faith, your understanding, and your love of God is until you are faced in that situation. And so this is to help you while you're building a relationship with God. You're to be asking Him to strengthen you, to build your faith, to not be afraid, to not turn your back, to not be Judas, to not be Peter, to not be Jonah and flee from your responsibilities, to not be wishy-washy, to not be praising the Lord when you're with a group that are praising the Lord, and then when you go out on the street and it's not popular and these people are doing something different, that you go ahead and blend in with them because you don't want to be singled out. That's not how God God said you're either hot or cold. He doesn't want you lukewarm. He doesn't want you to be hot here and you're in church, and then He doesn't want you to go home and play like, I go to church, but I'm still good with you guys. And that's not how you serve the Lord. If you trust in the Lord, if you have faith, all the things that you do will be standing up for God. Do you think those young boys who were going to be thrown in the furnace for not bowing down, did you think that if for a split second they would have said, well, we can just bow down but not believe it, but not really believe in what we're doing? But that, it doesn't matter if you weren't going to believe it. You showed other people that, you can be swayed, or God, you're not even sure about your faith, or you're not even sure about God. And so they went all the way. If you're not going to go all the way, what are you there for? These boys had faith of a mustard seed. They could have walked into the furnace and immediately got burned up. It would still would have came out as they had trust in God, and this is what God had for them. But they took that mustard seed, they took that faith, and they were not in fear. They did not fear what was going to happen. And so that's what we have to have, that trust and that faithfulness, that we truly are believing in what we're saying. We truly believe in what God is telling us. We truly believe in the Word of God. We know that He's real. We know that He brings us from so many things, whether it's little or small. I say some people, I've gotten to the point where just a small thing, because I know me, life beats you up. Life takes tolls on you, and then when you get to the point where you're tired, just one little thing could push you over the edge. So I pray about everything so that if I run upon something that might be minor, like, I can handle that and not have to deal with that. I want to be fully engaged in God's word. I want to be fully letting people know that they don't have to live in fear, or they don't have to be treated the way that they are, that homeless people who are on the street are just as good as a man driving down the street in a Mercedes Benz, because no matter what you feel and no matter how you feel, what your life is based on wealth, prestige, power, or whatever, you can make things happen. That is not the life that God gave you. God's life is of peace and tranquility and of love of one another, and to help one another. You don't leave behind a fallen soldier when you've made it, because God's you have to pick up. You have not consequences. You have obligations to God when you decide that you're going to be one of His soldiers. You have obligations to answer to His call, and if that means that you're going to have to hold someone up who can't hold themselves up, or to make someone feel a little bit, like they're not alone, or to treat them like they're a human being, not just someone who lays on the street with a blanket, because for the grace of God go I. You can be in anybody's predicament, in anybody's situation, at any time. No doubt. I don't care how much money you have saved in the bank. I don't care what assets you have, paintings, stock, bonds, whatever. At a blink of an eye, all those things can become worth nothing. And then when you are faced with not being able to get your hands on money or be able to survive, then we'll see how you are able to overcome. Are you going to go to Jesus, to God? It just depends. God gives us lessons also, because we don't normally, when men make it big, they say, I'm a self-made man, I did this on my own, I'm this because of me. That's not true, because at any time you could have became sick, bedridden, and that dream might not have happened. You could have anything. This world is not yours. You're not Nino Brown. This world is not yours. You live in it just like the rest of us. You have to take whatever consequences like the rest of us. I just know that if you decide to follow God in His way, that those consequences will be met with the King. He will fight your battles. He will take on the naysayers. He will take on the people that who want to hurt you, because they don't want. Some people don't want to hear, don't want you to get people excited about serving the Lord, or get people wanting to come together and help one another to change their situation or change. They want things to stay exactly the way that they are. We want people on the bottom. We want people in the middle, people on the top. We don't want to change. If the president said, we're going to even the score, we're going to give out enough money to make everybody equal, there'll be a riot. There'll be so much, the government will fall. There would be so much going on, because of course people don't want to be in the same classification. They want to be there. There has to be a hierarchy. There has to be people on top. There has to be people who are middle class. There has to be people that are lower class. There has to be people that are poverty level, because that's how they run the world. Until we understand, until we get that in our head, you can try and go from your middle class to your higher class, but if it wasn't meant for you, or if they don't want you to hit that level, you won't hit the level. There will be so many tax issues that you'll have, or just anything. So if you're not with God, who are you with? If you're not with Him, you are on the enemy side. If you're not serving Him, if you're not uplifting Him, if you're not spreading His word, if you're not giving Him His holy day, if you're not keeping His laws and His commandments, if you're not doing any of those things, you may be top dog here on earth, because Satan will give you he will give you prizes for working on his team, but what he can't give you is eternal life. You're going to end up where he's at, and believe you, when you see him there and you say, ask him why. I thought he's going to look at you first of all like he doesn't know you, and he's going to tell you, I don't care anything about you. You're going to die, and those are the consequences, and that's the decision that you chose by my guidance, but I don't care anything about you. And that's how you're going to end your life. That's how your ending is going to be. Like I said, I believe there are people who rather just be evil, live in this world and just be evil, just to reap for the meantime that they're here, just to live lavish and have things that other people don't have. They'll deal with the consequences later. Everybody makes it, look like you can travel to whatever country you want to be in and buy all the things that you want to have, and just all those things. Those are the good things in life. But I'm telling you, God is promising you way so much better. He's going to, you're going to see things that you wouldn't even know of, you don't even know exist. We haven't seen, we have wonders of the world. We have beautiful mountains and different things that are, people go to look at and admire. But God, heaven has, you're not even prepared for what you're going to see. You're not even going to know that these things have been here or exist. When God had to destroy the earth the first time, it was because of the Watchers. They went and married the women of men, and they had children, and they were giants. But what they also were they introduced lawlessness. They introduced how to make weapons. They introduced how to defeat an enemy. They introduced a lot of things. And so as the world was getting, out of control, God just looked down and said, this is not what he intended. This is not how it's supposed to go. And so he decided he was going to destroy what he had made, basically about the angels, because he brought them there to protect. And those angels are still out there. They're tied up right under the earth. And I believe that's why people think there's a hell and a heaven. They think you're going to go down in the earth and burn up. And that's not the case. Those angels have been there chained since the beginning. They have no reprieve. God is not going to forgive them. They can't repent. They are chained there together until Judgment Day. So they're going to be judged just like everyone else. So God has given you free will, and he's also has given the angels free will. They're not, they can turn on God just like the rest of, people can turn. And so it's coming from every which way. And if you do not stay in prayer, you do not stay in the Word, if you do not have a personal relationship with God, if you do not give God your whole entire soul and being, you're not going to win the war. You cannot win against the devil, because even though he can't beat God, he can beat you, and he's shown you over and over and over again that he can deceive you, that he can get you to believe that the things that he is telling you is real, that he can make you feel like you deserve to be on top, that you deserve to have these things of the world. And unfortunately, people are falling for it. The devil, his goal, because his goal all along is, it's like he took the angels from heaven. He wants to have more people die with him than go to heaven. In his sick mind, he's won, even though he's destroyed. To him, that means he's won. That God walked on this earth, or Jesus walked on this earth, and God gave blessings and tried to help us, and that we still turned our backs on him, and we decided that we rather deal with the devil. We really want to believe in him, and that at the end we died with him. The devil feels like he won. That nobody, really trusts God. He can't, he just really wanted God to fail, to, he's tried so many times to get God to denounce whatever, or make him do things to challenge his power, challenge God's power. and he never gave in to him, because the devil is just that, the devil. Whatever word you can use besides the devil, whatever meaning that you feel that the devil means, that's what it is. You can't salvage anything. You can't change anything. He's not one to be sorry for anything he's done, or he's not one to have a change of heart. His main objective is to destroy you, to make sure you never make it. Make sure that your destination is where he's going. He wants you to be one of those people that are going to be running and asking the rocks to fall on you. He wants you to be the people who, when Jesus descends to the earth, and he's going to be visible by everyone. It doesn't matter where country you're in, where you're at. He's going to be visible by everyone, and he wants you to be one of those who fall on their knees and hide their faces, and he wants you to be the one who tries to run and maybe throw themselves in the ocean or the rivers to drown themselves, so that they don't have to face their impending judgment. And there is no way that you're not going to face it. I don't care if you cremated yourself. I don't care if you think your ashes are spread all around, and pieces are here and pieces are there, and they won't be able to find you. You're going to be there at your judgment. So there's nothing that you can do to change that. The only thing that you can do is take your little your mustard seed of faith and try God. You've tried everything else. You've tried drinking, and that hasn't done anything for you but caused you to have heartache and illnesses, and you've tried drugs, and that hasn't done anything but have your family turn their backs on you. You've lost everything and spent time in jail. Once there's a song, after you tried everything else, try him. He doesn't even mind that you tried him last. He's still going to be there. But last might get to you to the point where you don't have anything left. Because the road is slowly wrapping up. The weather, the conduct of people who it's going to get worse. How do you go from this to what's next? There's no sympathy, no harmony, no respect. We don't even respect our own kind. Our kin, our grandparents who taught us to do this and that, we're not even following after them, and they broke their backs to make sure that we had something, and we don't even respect that. We don't respect our mothers. Yes, you have to understand that some of our mothers were in the era where there were things that were put in our community to harm us, and some of our mothers got a hold of that, and they became they were on drugs, and the devil had their minds, but all we seen was she wasn't there to take care of us, and she didn't care about us, and we harbor that. And now that she's older and she's clean and she's trying to do something better, we want to make her pay for every wrongdoing that we felt, that she did to us. instead of embracing her and letting her know that you know that wasn't her. That wasn't the woman who loved you and carried you. That was God, the devil's way of trying to turn her the wrong way. Because if get you in the wrong way or get you to go down the wrong path, it's kind of hard to come back from there. There are people who do, a lot of people who do, and we just have to remember that God loved us, God forgives us, and in order for him to fully detach you from this world, you have to forgive others. You have to leave what was in the past in the past. You have to understand that was a time in your life that you had no control over, and that wasn't you. You have a new life. You stepped out in a new skin. Like when you get baptized and you come back up, it's like you were born again, and everything that you did in the past, everything that happened and that you were ashamed of, was left in that pool of water. You can't let anyone make you feel ashamed of whatever you did, whatever your past is, because God's not. God forgives and he forgets. So man does not have the right to keep reminding you of how you acted or who you were back then. Because what that person needs to do is to remember their past, what they did, how they acted, how they treated people, how they were not up to par. Nobody's up to par, because God says over and over, we are all sinners and fall short. He did not say that it depends on your age or your skin color, or if you graduated from college, or if you became a foster mother and helped children, or if you're preaching out on the street. We are still all sinners and fall short, and have to be picked up daily. I don't care if you're the president. I don't care if you're the Pope. I don't care if you're the Baptist minister. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Mother Teresa, Gandhi. God did not exclude anyone from being a sinner. So if you think because you hold a title, or you didn't do many bad things in your life than you've heard that other people did, that doesn't change the fact that God looks at you the same. Once you get that out of your head, once you get that out of your mind, that you're better than this sinner, things will work out better for you, because you're not. Are you your brother's keeper? Are we still in the business of helping one another? Are we still willing to touch someone else's life that may not have had it so easily, or and is our minds still in the realm of, I made it, I had to get it out the mud, no one helped me, you need to get it out, you need to get it your own self. Is that the mentality that we're going to continue to keep? Sure, no one helps me. I understand that. Yes, I went through heartache and pain and a lot of things that I had to overcome, and some of those things may still linger around every once in a while, that I have to remind myself that that what God is going to help me deal with that. But just because no one helped me, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to help someone else. It's life isn't dealt everyone a fair hand. You have to realize that. But it's just the way that you choose to handle that. That you choose to take that and change it around. In these last days and ages, people are becoming introverted. They don't want to be around people because who knows who you can trust. You can't tell people how you feel for the fact that he might use it against you. You can't be kind to other people because you're afraid they might take your kindness for weakness and try to use you. You can't show a woman that you love her because it makes you look weak, and you're a man and you can't ever look weak. You can't show a man that you love him because it makes you feel like makes you look like you're can be taken advantage of and he can use you for anything. And those things can happen. You just have to be willing to let them go if that's the case. If people don't genuinely care about you because it's you, because they admire you, or they see you coming up, or they see you making it out the mud, and it's not because they want to see what they can get from you, you do not need them in your life in the first place. So leave them let them stand on the sideline and watch. Everyone's not going to be saved. Everyone is not going to be a good person. Everyone is not going to care anything about you. Everyone is not in your corner. Everyone doesn't like you. None of that. And it's okay. You don't have to be liked by everyone. You don't have to be special to everyone. But you're special to God, and He wants to make you one of His soldiers, one of His children, and just when everyone else turns their backs on you, when everyone else talks about you and does terrible things to you, you still have God. And I know that you say that's not the same, but it really is. If you haven't tried it, you can't tell me that it doesn't work. And you can't try it just for a little bit. You can't go in there and say, okay, God, give me a Mercedes. That doesn't work. Get a relationship with Him. Read His Word. Pray with Him. Ask Him to give you understanding. Ask Him to be with you during the hard times. Ask Him to give you a clear mind. Ask Him to make it easier for you to stand alone if nobody else wants to do the right thing. I wanted to speak more about the Book of Jubilees, but I just want me telling you what I read, what I have read, what I have gotten out of it is not helping you. It's what I read and what it made me understand. Yes, there are things that have been taken out of the Bible that we don't know about. These things are there, and they will give you understanding. Like we know that, you know, it will tie up loose ends. It will tie up misunderstandings and get you thinking right. We could just having half truths doesn't really give us the full picture. We just couldn't understand. But the word is there. The Ethiopian Bible never was changed. And so if you get that, and there's the book of Enoch is really good. Continue to read. Get the next book. It's the book of Esther, Mary. You know, just read the stories. Get understanding, get power, get wisdom from those stories, and understand that these were real people that God touched in their lives, and He helped them overcome evil. And even though this world is probably as evil as we've ever seen, and the longer we're here, the worse that it will get, he's telling you how you don't have to be of this world. You don't have to be in this world. You don't have to, get drawn into the different type of things that people are into. You can think for yourself. You can be different. You can be, like I said, even if you're alone and no one else understands, God understands. I'd rather be alone, shunned, not understood for the religion, or for not the religion, or for the relationship that I have with God, and then get my rewards in heaven, than to sacrifice myself here on earth for all these earthly things that mean nothing, and that are going to be destroyed along with the wicked. And so you just have to make your choice. There's not really much more that I could say. I could just, tell you how I feel, what I've gone through in the books to read. I can't make you want to serve the Lord more than you want to serve the Lord. I can't make you make a decision that you don't want to make. All I know is read it for yourself. I was there. I was never skeptical about God because I was raised in the church. I always believed that there was a God. Always. But I also was a young person. And in most people's young life, God doesn't play a big importance. But the young people in this age, you don't have time to play. You don't have time to make up your mind. You don't have time to go back and forth. You don't have time to seek something else or look for something else. And what I talk about is not, I don't talk about it to offend anyone. I don't talk about it to make people think that I'm saying you're a bad person because of certain things that you do. I only speak about what is told to me in the Bible, and that is it. I'm not going to leave anything out of the Bible, because that is what they've done to us this whole time. So if I say that God says reading cards is sorcerous, that's not coming from me. That He says the horoscopes are not the way to rearrange your life, that's not coming from me, that's coming from him. That worshiping the moon and the stars is not what you should be doing. That doesn't come from me, that comes from him. What you don't understand, what you should be understanding is God made all of it. So no matter where you get to, God's still above. So God's still above. He made the stars, moon, and the sun, and he put them there in perfect order so that they run smoothly. Man changed the order. We don't know when all the jubilees, when all the festivals, we don't really know the date of anything because they have been changed. So that's why the world is so confusing and messed up, is because the order has been changed by man who had no authority and basically changed the outcome of a lot of people's thinking or out of their lives or their understanding, because they wanted to make it convenient for whatever they needed it to be changed to. Maybe January they think is the first month, and that's where they start a new year. But usually starting anew and starting fresh would be the spring, where all the things are growing and the animals are born. But I'm not going to get into that. I just ask that you use your own brain, study, ask God for understanding, stand strong, determine what is more important. Do you want to go to heaven, or is this life, this earth, just enough for you? And if those, based on those questions you ask yourself and the answers, then let it be. Let it be that. That's what you want to do. For those who have supported me and listened to my uploads and give me feedback, and I appreciate you all. You all have stuck with me and kept me going. I know that there's more fascinating channels or things that you could be listening to that's entertaining. But when I say, if you're being entertained, you're not being educated. And so there's nothing wrong with having a little entertainment, but you need to also educate your mind so that you can know when you're being led astray or lied to or deceived or whatever. You just have to stay in the right mind. You have to stay with God. You have to keep his armor on, because you're not going to win the battle without him. And so I thank all of you who have been by my side, and all of you have been good to me and have left me comments and let me know that you've enjoyed my uploads, and I appreciate that. And I hope in the future that I can be of some kind of assistance to some of you who are looking for other answers, or who are looking for what the most harder questions that you have, and I will try my best to find answers. We can study together or find them together. And just remember that each day something is being crossed off that list of God's soon to come. Every day there's going to be something crossed off the list. So we're getting closer and closer. I hope everyone has a blessed week and stay strong and healthy and love yourself and love God. Don't let the troubles of life worry you. There's only so much that you can conquer at one time. Remember mental health. Check on your strong friends. This is Bible month. Maybe you can pick up a Bible if you haven't picked up a Bible in a long time, and just read a chapter. Just read something a little bit that doesn't have. Go to Psalms or, the stories, so that you're not really, into the in-depth things. You can get to that later, but just something that will uplift you and give you hope. And until next time, have a blessed day.